From this to this makes a great Rosh Hashana dinner. I'm Susan Heller, the Kosher Keto Maven, and today we're going to make my family's favorite Rosh Hashana dinner. It's a pot roast, and I've been making this since the early 70s when we lived in St. Louis. I've made several variations of this pot roast throughout the years, and it has evolved today into a keto or carnivore recipe. The ingredients are a big pot roast. This pot roast is just over 6 pounds, and it'll be enough to feed 18 people, and I'm having a large gathering at my house. We also need onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and also caraway seeds. Now the onion powder, the garlic powder, and the black pepper are all KSA, Kosher Supervisors of America, and the salt and the caraway seeds are OU, the Orthodox Union. So we have the meat and the spices. We also need to put in an apple, a peeled apple. And then for vegetables, we're going to use zucchini and cabbage. Now, if you don't eat any of the vegetables and you just eat the meat, you'll have very little carbs, so you could call it carnivore. If you want some of the zucchini, I'm going to cut that into 1 ounce pieces. The 1 ounce piece is 0.9 carb. 1 ounce of cabbage is 1.6 carbs. I'm not sure how many ounces this will be until after I weigh it and peel off some of the leaves. Okay, let's get started. We need a large pot. This one's 8 quarts. In the pot, I put a tablespoon of tallow. It's all melted, so I'm going to add the meat. It's a beautiful piece of meat. Doesn't quite fit yet, but it will as it cooks and shrinks. I'm going to brown it on all sides and then add about 10 cups of water. And then we'll add the spices. I've measured all the spices into this glass container. It's 4 tablespoons of onion powder, 4 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And in this cup, I've measured 1 teaspoon of the caraway seeds. I have a little bag, muslin bag. I'm going to pour them in there. And then has a drawstring on it. I'm going to pull it as tight as I can and wrap it around the top very tightly. And then tie it in a double knot. This keeps the caraway seeds out of the broth. They soften while you're cooking if you put them directly in the pot. This is optional, but my kids, when they were little, hated the caraway seeds, especially when we poured the gravy over the noodles. So I do it this way now. And the caraway seeds stay in here, but then they also give the flavor that you need. And while it's browning, I'm going to go ahead and peel the apple. I've already turned it once, and you can see how it's already shrunk down 1/2 inch or so. I'm ready to turn it again. Some pot roasts come with strings and some don't. But if your pot roast comes with strings, you should leave it on. Alright, let me get this apple taken care of. If you're not doing keto, or if you're not doing keto for the holiday, I used to put 2 apples in, so you could add another apple. So then you just want to chop the apple. Doesn't have to be too small. It basically disintegrates into the broth. All right, the apple is ready. The spices are ready. Let's rotate this again. I'll toss this. If you don't have a little muslin bag and you want it you don't want the seeds to be in the broth, you can also use one of those little metal things that you put tea in, loose tea. Just screw it on tight, and then it has a little hook too, and you can just hook it over the edge. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off for a little bit. We'll come back in a while. I was able to push this meat down to the bottom of the pan. Now let's turn it. We're getting there. If your pan is a little too small, you could do it like in a large fry pan, brown it. But I didn't want to do that because I knew that once it started shrinking, it would fit. All right. Getting there. Our meat is all brown. I'm going to add the water. This is 2 cups. 4, 6, 8, and 10. This just covers it. All right, so I'm going to put all this, well, first I'll turn the heat up because we're going to make it boil. And the apples go in now. As it boils, these spices will dissolve. And here's the caraway seeds. We're going to let it boil about 2.5 to 3 hours. And then we'll put the vegetables in. Also, after you let it boil 2.5 to 3 hours, you could refrigerate it overnight because the flavors blend really well. And then put the vegetables in as you heat it up to serve it. All right, I'm going to put the lid on this. Turn it down just a little bit. I'm going to get the 4 leaves of the cabbage off. What we need to do to make sure that we have no bugs. I'm going to cut the bottom off. And take out the core. And I want to weigh it. I zeroed it out, and then I'm going to lift the cabbage off, and it is 1 pound, almost 12 ounces. So that's 38 ounces of cabbage. The Chicago Rabbinical Council says that for cabbage, you need to remove 4 outer leaves and rinse the remaining leaves under a stream of water. You don't need to inspect for bugs, so that's pretty easy. I'll just separate these out and then run them under water while this is boiling. So see you later. The first thing we're going to do now is take out the meat. I'm going to let it cool just a little bit. There's a piece of the apple. While I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take out the caraway seed pouch. And I'm also going to take out some broth because I have some non-keto people for Rosh Hashana. And I want to be able to cook potatoes and carrots in here without getting any carbs into the broth. So I'm going to put in the zucchini. And I had cut them into 1-inch slices. I'm going to let that cook about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to put in the cabbage and then let it cook another 5 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat up so it'll come to a boil, and I'll be back in a few minutes. The zucchini's a little bit soft, so I'm going to go ahead and put the cabbage in. Pushing it down, but I'm going to turn the heat way up to it so it gets to be a rolling boil and either cooks or steams that cabbage. Meanwhile, I'm going to take the string off the meat. Just use a pair of scissors, designated meat scissors. Oh, I can tell the meat is going to be great because it's breaking apart just a little bit. I'm going to clean up the plate just a little bit with a paper towel. And then we'll be ready for the vegetables and we'll serve it. Okay, the vegetables are ready. Uh-oh. There, doesn't that look beautiful? I'm gonna slice a couple of pieces because my family's sitting at the table waiting to eat. Falling apart just the way we like it. Now I'm going to get some gravy, actually broth. Now I have one other dish for Rosh Hashana that I'm going to show you this year. And that's some Carnivore parve noodles. I'm going to put a little spoonful or two on this. That looks scrumptious. B'teyavon.